Hello, this is Daniel Mart back again. I'm an actor and filmmaker based out of South Florida, and for this video, as the title says down below, I'm going to talk about how I quit Banana Republic. As you can see, this is actually part 2 of a career journey thing that I'm doing, a little mini-series, I guess you could say, that I'm doing right now. In the previous part, literally the previous video that I just posted, I talked about how I finally got the RBT license, and now I'm quitting Banana Republic. Just to kind of give you a quick run-through, I discussed this in the previous video, I've discussed this in general, and some other videos, just to give you a quick run-through on everything that's going on. I already got my RBT license, I got it at the end of December. Getting the RBT has been a journey, to say the least, for the past year, almost year and a half at this point. Long story short, in late 2024, I started taking the classes for the RBT license, the 40-hour course. I started that in October, November of 2024. I graduated from the class, so to speak, or I finished the class in April of 2025, but that also basically coincided with my dad's cancer diagnosis, so I didn't really pursue the RBT, honestly, until give or take July, August of last year. In that, I was also doing trivia nights, which I eventually quit. I also did substituting, which I got fired from. During that whole time, during the latter half of last year, from basically August to December of last year, was me trying to get signed with an agency for RBT, or to get sponsored, to get the license, and then eventually be hired as an RBT. We'll discuss in part 3 of this little series, we'll discuss what my current career is. All I'm going to say is that in a weird workaround way, none of that mattered. But we'll discuss that later. But yeah, I basically want to talk about Banana Republic. So for those who may or may not know, I've worked, keyword there's worked because I quit already. I worked at Banana Republic for 2.5 years. It was my first job I got right out of college. So the first day I started was in August 29th of 2023, which honestly, not gonna lie, saying 2023 just kind of like phased me out for a second. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, it really has been that long ago. So yeah, I basically worked there from August 2023 to February 2026, 2.5 years essentially. According to LinkedIn, because I do have everything posted up on LinkedIn, it's 2 years and 7 months. Take that for what you will, I don't care. But yeah, I just want to talk about my journey at Banana Republic, because it's one of those things that it's been an up and down journey, and I kind of just want to talk about it. There's been times here on the channel where I discussed Banana Republic, and I feel I was maybe a bit down on Banana Republic. I was maybe talking a bit negative, and it's one of those things. There were definitely cons of working at Banana Republic. I want to tell you guys basically my journey in general at Banana Republic, and just kind of say the good and the bad, I guess is the best way to word it. So yeah, as I said, I started there in August of 2023, and I'll be honest, the first few months I was there, I did not take the job seriously. It's one of those things where, okay, this is my first job. I'm basically getting the job because my mom said you have to get a job. That's really it. And I always liked Banana Republic, the brand. I very much like their clothes. So I'm like, I guess retail is an option, Before that, I did apply to a few other stores. I applied to American Apparel. I think it was American Apparel and Abercrombie & Fitch, a bunch of clothing stores, essentially. That's what I applied to. Me applying to stores probably lasted about a month. I didn't really go for it at that long, before I got hired at Banana Republic. And the main reason I really didn't take it seriously is because I still wasn't mature. Like, I'll be honest with you, I just really wasn't mature. In a sense, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was still under the impression that, I'm going to break it into acting. I'm going to break it into filmmaking. I still had that in my mind at that point. And because of that, I didn't really take it seriously. On top of that, when I first started off, from August to give or take November of 2023, maybe October, November of 2023, from that time, they didn't really give me that many hours. So on top of everything else, it's like, okay, if you're only gonna give me like 4 hours per week, why should I care that much? Essentially, there was weeks where they wouldn't even give me hours, to be honest with you, very early on. So it's like, okay, cool, I don't really care. It's like, if you're not going to care about me, why should I care about you? That's kind of how it went. On top of that, that was also before I even started pursuing Jesus, pursuing Christianity. Maybe this could be a larger story in its own video, but I didn't really start asking questions about Jesus until November of 2023. And so a few months still into that. And even then, I didn't surrender to Jesus till about June, July of 2024. There's still a big chunk of time where, like, I was still very much immature. It's one of those things that a lot of people, once I made it to about February, March of 2024, a lot of people were like, oh wait, he has actually, like, Daniel's been here for a while at this point. And I actually got comments like, oh, we're actually surprised you lasted this long. And I'm not gonna lie, that hurt me. That genuinely hurt me, because although the first few months I definitely left a bad impression, I'll be honest with you, I kind of realized after a while, okay, cool, if I'm gonna stay here, I should maybe care about the work I'm doing. So it wasn't honestly to about November, December of 2023 that I actually started caring about the work I did. So the work I did, and so here's the thing. Initially, I was hired to be a cashier and work in the front of the house as a stylist and all this. However, very early on, like within the first month or two that I was there was another guy who was there that he quit, and his primary role was to work in the mornings, and he was to like help with the stocking the store with the clothes before the store opens. I basically replaced him. Basically, that's what happened. I basically replaced him because I can wake up in the mornings. I could go to the store at 6 a.m. from 6 to 10 twice a week. So that was like, okay, I get a few more hours, cool. And that's it. Basically that's what I did for a huge chunk, honestly, for like the first, honestly, year that I worked there. That's basically what I did. The first few months that I was there, I did some cashiering stuff, I did some register stuff, I did some styling. Honestly, but realistically, for that first year that I was working there, from let's say November to August, September of 2024. I'm also trying to make sure I don't get the years mixed up. That's the other thing. So from about November 2023 to August, September of 2024, almost a year, that's basically what I did. Straight up. That's basically what I did. I came in the mornings, helped with the shipments, opened up the boxes, organized the clothes both at the store, in the storefront, and back of house in our storage section, so to speak. And that's what I did, I cleaned the store if need be as well, with the vacuum and the broom and the sweeper. I wiped down stuff, I helped with that. I helped with markdowns. Which is basically for example, if we have a jacket that's cost $100, but now it's on sale for, let's say, $60. I print out the sticker and, replace the prices on that. I would do reticketings, which is when the product no longer has its tag. We would print out a new ticket for it and go from there. So that's what I did, basically, for about a whole year. It's not that I didn't like it, but I was kind of indifferent towards it. It's kind of the thing. I was very much indifferent towards it. So another thing that happened during this first year, so to speak, there's two things that happened during this first year that really shaped my views on, not the company, I guess, it's more so the workplace environment. The manager that I was originally under during the morning, she was pregnant when I first got there. Like, she was about to leave. She was about to pop out a baby and whatever. And it's one of those things that she was, I'm not gonna mince words. She was very much short-tempered with me. Now, I understand part of it is my fault because I was being unprofessional. Just like I admitted a few minutes ago, I didn't really care about the work I was doing. And because I didn't care about the work I was doing, the manager had a poor view of me. On top of that, some of my other coworkers also had a poor view of me because I didn't really put my best foot forward. It's one of those things where I liked to believe that I didn't care what they thought of me. But at the same time, it did kind of hurt, like, yo, I'm trying to fit in and I don't understand why I'm not fitting in. Well, at the same time, I'm not really putting my best foot forward. So eventually I did start putting my best foot forward, and that was right there on the cusp of her basically going on maternity leave. After she went to maternity leave, I got another manager. She came in, and honestly, I would say that this manager was honestly a godsend. Before I even believed in God. But yeah, she was a godsend. Like, she is one of those people, like, she basically sat me down saying, she straight up told me, like, hey, this is how you need to improve. She very much encouraged me. And I think that was one of the main things I really needed because, like I said, if I don't feel like I'm going to get any respect, so to speak, from you, if you're not going to respect me, why should I respect you? That was kind of the attitude. Kind of going with the hours. I wasn't getting that many hours, but now that I am, I'm not really taking advantage of these hours. I'm not really taking advantage of treating this workplace as it should be. And this manager really helped me develop in that sense, so to speak. And again, this is in November, so at this point, I'm starting to ask questions about God as well. And eventually, the other manager, the mother, now that she comes back from maternity leave, give or take March, April. Okay, and like I said, when she came back, that's when I started hearing those comments like, "Oh, I'm surprised you are still here. I thought you would have quit or been fired by now." And it's one of those things that some of the other coworkers that I was working with at the morning, which I thought I had a good relation with, they were like, "Yeah, we're also pretty much surprised that you're still here." And I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those things. I kind of smiled and nodded, but like inside, I kind of wanted to cry because like I finally putting my best foot forward. I'm actually kind of caring about the work, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of hurts that you're saying that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That's what I was thinking inside. It's one of those things where that manager also said, "Hey, let's bury the hatchet. I'm sorry if I was mean to you back then, but I was pregnant, so I was kind of having mood swings, this and the other." And I'm not gonna lie, I took her at her word. But it's one of those things that pretty shortly she started being rude again, and I'm like, okay, you don't really have the excuse of having a baby in you, so now you're just being rude for the sake of being rude. And essentially is what it came down to. She quit shortly thereafter just for other reasons. By this point, give or take March, April, May, by that point, she had come back. I would say I had a better footing on the environment. I had a better footing in terms of my coworkers, and I would say I was starting to be decently liked. I would say that I was finally starting to give off a good impression. Give or take March, April of 2024, there was a humongous shift in management. So long story short, Banana Republic corporate, like our corporate office, they basically accused some of our managers of doing illegal and inappropriate activities, which was wild because there was also an investigation and nothing came out of it. Yeah, but because there was this whole situation, basically they cleaned house on the managers. It's one of those things, they fired one of the managers, and then the other 4 managers that we had, they basically quit in succession because if you're going to accuse us of stuff without proof and this and the other. It's one of those things that basically turned into a very toxic workplace environment for the managers because of corporate. So basically the managers cleaned house. And it's one of those things that for about 2 months, really, from let's say April, let's say May, June, maybe even into July, I want to say, we didn't really have managers, to be honest with you. It's one of those things, they would bring people from other stores to like try to manage us, but like we knew there weren't going to be our permanent managers, if that makes sense. It's one of those things where we had guys from like up north as Atlanta coming down to Miami to like help manage our stores. Like that's how bad it got. Eventually we did get a set of managers. So here's the thing, at our store there needs to be 5 managers. By the end of August, I would say we had the 3 managers blocked up. It's one of those things that the next 2 managers have always been a revolving door managers that we've just never been able to get situated for one reason or another. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I know some of the reasons why, but I'm just going to leave it at that. In April, May 2024, I was finally starting to get out of the stockroom. It's one of those things where like, hey, can you do cash register? Hey, can you help out a client and in fashion? And I'm like, yes, because that's honestly what I would rather do. Even though this is the work you have given me for the bulk of my time here, doing the stockroom stuff and in the mornings doing shipments, this and the other, what I would preferably want to do is be out there in the front, talking with customers, doing the cash register. That's honestly what I would have rather done. That's originally what I was hired for, to be honest with you. When the new managers came, that's actually what I told them. Like, because they asked me, hey, do you like being in the stockroom, or are you open to do other stuff? And I told them straight up, hey, this is the situation. When I first came here, I was asked to be a cash register, to work on the cash register and to be a fashion stylist. But what happened is that we had an employee who quit. He was primarily here in shipments, and then therefore I replaced him. It's one of those things that actually before the whole management shift, one of my managers was actually ready to start giving me some of that cashier work. But it's one of those things that the second he left, so did those cashier opportunities. They left for me as well. So it's one of those things I had to wait again until I want to say June, July, August of 2024 before I started working again out there on the floor. Out there as a cash register, cashier. Cash register person as a cashier, working out there as a stylist. This is also during the time, this is also at the tail end of, hey, I don't want to work in stockroom anymore. It's one of those things that, it's not that I don't want to work in the shipments anymore per se. It's one of those things I just don't want to do that as much anymore because I'm kind of getting burnt out and tired. Let's just leave it at that. There's another situation that happened there with me, and I just didn't appreciate how it was handled. And for me, the best course of action is like, hey, for the time being, can I just not do work in the mornings? So they accepted that. From August 2024, actually no, I think it's basically from August 2024 till basically I left earlier this week. It's one of those things where they respected that. They allowed me to do cash register duties. They allowed me to be a fashion stylist for me to get clients. And it's one of those things where if they need me in the mornings, they would still call me in the mornings. August, September of 2024, we got our 4th manager. And she was honestly an angel. She was great. Everybody loved her. Like, I would say out of the 4 managers that we've had since the whole restructuring, she was maybe the most popular one. She was the one that everybody loved. She was the one that she knew how to communicate with both the employees and the managers, because there's always been, ever since the manager shift, even to this day, there's always been kind of a weird rift between the regular employees and the managers. I have some idea of why that is, but I'm not going to get into it in this video. I don't think it's relevant for the purposes of this video. But I will say there's always been kind of a weird rift in between the regular employees and the managers. However, this manager, the one who's basically an angel, she was, out of all the managers that we've had, she's probably the best one, especially when it comes to communicating with our needs to the managers, what we want to see in the managers. And in a lot of ways, she was basically doing HR, let's be honest with you. So that helped out for a lot. That honestly was great for the bulk of the time. Give or take, let's see, end of 2024, from about November 2024 to April 2025, we had 2 more managers that came in to fill out that 5th spot, but they quickly also left, so that's going to be relevant. I would say 2025 was maybe, from what I've seen, because again, I barely stayed in 2026, so I would say 2025, for the first bulk of 2025, for about January to August of 2025, I would say it was relatively good. There was nothing real big that happened. We had our, there's always people who quit or get fired over time, and that happens with any company. It doesn't matter. But we of course we had a bit of a revolving door in regards to who's working and all that. A lot of people, again, Some people quit, some people got fired. It is what it is. You just kind of continue on living. In March of 2025, so last year, March 2025, one of my boys, he very much wanted to become manager at this point. He basically started a little bit before me. So let's say, I don't know, June, July of 2023, because I got there in August of 2023. And it's one of those things that a lot of people by this point are also respecting him a lot more. A lot of people are asking him a lot more technical questions in regards to like, what should you do under this circumstance? You know, what do you do if this happens? It's one of those things that even the managers were starting to give him like almost semi-managerial duties. It's one of those things I kind of just said out loud, like, hey, why don't you just become manager? Like, at this point. And it's one of those things, like, ever since I said that out loud in like literally last year, March of 2025, it's one of those things like, I'm not sure if he had already thought about it even before that or not, but it's one of those things like, from that point on, he did start pursuing to become manager in earnest. And I'm like, yeah, you should definitely become manager. Like, it's one of those things, like, if you're getting managerial duties, if you are doing all this stuff that realistically managers, the regular employee doesn't do, only the managers do, then why don't you just become manager at this point, Papo? And yeah, we had a serious conversation about that. And it's one of those things that I told him straight up, hey, I'll pray about it for you. Sadly, he doesn't believe in God. You know, that's another thing to pray about. But, you know, it's one of those things, like, he still accepted the prayers. And also that by this point, I had already surrendered. By 2025 especially, I had already surrendered to God. I was already talking more openly about my faith. You know, I would sometimes wear my cross necklace. You know, this one here. I would sometimes wear that. There was a few other employees there that also did believe in God and were in the faith, so we would talk about that too. So it's one of those things that also, like, because I had such a massive turnaround in my personality and my attitude, people started seeing me also in a better light. Not unlike how I started on a very bad foot with a lot of people. By this point, in early to mid 2025, I know I was doing good. It's one of those things, I was doing good. You know, people liked me, people respected me. I'll be honest, I wasn't the best employee. I'll never admit to being the best employee. There's a lot of areas where I still could have grown, even to this day, if I was still working there today. There's a lot of areas where I could have grown. I'm not gonna lie. But it's one of those things that, generally speaking, people held me in a good regard. Eventually, the manager, who was an angel, she left, she quit, because it was a combination of other issues regarding the other managers, and then she got a better job opportunity somewhere else. Go figure. So again, now we're down to 3 managers. Great. Around May, June, July, August, I want to say, June, July, August of 2025, I want to say, is when this happened. It's one of those things where my friend, he was trying to, like I said, he was trying to become manager in earnest. What essentially happened is that, for whatever reason, the other managers didn't want to, I don't want to say approve his promotion. That's not exactly how I'd word it. And here's the thing, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know what the process to become manager, like employee to manager, is. But I guess there was a step that they needed to approve, or he needed a recommendation or something like that. And for whatever reason, they just didn't do it. For one reason or another, they just didn't do it. And it's one of those things, like, other employees heard that, and we were like, that is stupid. That is ridiculous. Just give him the approval, give him the recommendation, whatever he needs in order to become manager. During this time as well is when we got our 4th manager. I'm not gonna lie. This is maybe one of the worst managers I have ever had. I'm actually kind of in shock that she's not number 1. But then I always remember, oh wait, I worked for IndieWise. That would be the number 1 worst manager I ever had. The guy I worked with at IndieWise. But honestly, this lady is a very close second in a lot of respects. So when you're working at any place, there is a certain standard of professionalism. There is a certain expectation of maturity that you should have. She had none of it. And straight up, she just didn't. She even to this week when I quit, she was not professional. She was not mature at all. It is one of those things where we have a group chat, and every time, and here's the thing, the second she came, we had basically a mass exodus of people, because there's a lot of people who did not appreciate her attitude. There's a lot of people who did not appreciate her level of unprofessionalism and her level of immaturity, and people quit. She would throw people under the bus. There would be times where she did something wrong and she would blame the employees, and people did not appreciate it. She got cursed out a lot, whether both in front of her face or behind her back. People just did not like her. To this day, people still do not like her. It is honestly a wonder that she has not been fired, or that management, the upper management, hasn't done anything about it. So why do I bring this up? There's only really been 2 times I heavily considered quitting. One time was in mid 2024, where hours were extremely low, and again, this was after the This was also during the whole managerial shift. During that time, I'm like, okay, maybe is it time for me to leave? And I think I did a job search video around that time as well. That went nowhere with the job searches that I was doing during that time. Whatever. The only other time I seriously considered leaving, quitting, I had an incident with this manager. With any store, there's a certain set of policies. One of the policies is that, hey, if you suspect a client to be stealing and they've already walked out, you are not to chase after them. You are to call the mall security and say, hey, this happened, this and the other, whatever. Okay? So what happened is that she suspected a customer of walking out with merchandise. I was in a completely different room doing my own thing, working on folding clothes or whatever. Long story short, she told me to chase after the customer. It's one of those things where I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think about it. I'm like, okay, cool. My manager told me to do something. I'm gonna do it. I brought the customer back in. I told the customer, hey, there was a situation with their payment. I'm not sure, whatever. Can you come back into the store and figure it out, basically. I went to the back because here's the thing. I kind of ran all over the mall to find these customers, straight up. So I come back. I take a little 5-minute break to catch my breath, drink some water, cool off, dry my sweat, whatever. I go back outside to like, hey, how about customers, be a cashier again, whatever. And my manager, this manager, she comes and she basically yells at me for basically doing everything wrong. And I'm like super confused right now because like, you told me to chase after these customers. You told me this, that, and the other. Why am I now getting blamed for it if this is what you told me? So it's one of those things where I'm not gonna lie, I snapped back and that's it. I kind of just walked away. It's one of those things that I snapped back. I took another 5-minute break, went back into the floor. She says, hey, Daniel, go take a break. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to take a break. But then she said something snarky. I'm like, you know what? I am going to take a break. Screw it. Whatever. And I was in the back room crying, praying to God, hey, help me not basically curse this lady out. Essentially is what it came down to. I didn't know if I were to walk out right now, I'm not sure if I'm going to come back. It's basically how it was. She eventually comes to the back room and she starts talking to me. And it's one of those things where she was basically trying to shift blame onto me for the situation. I tried to tell her, hey, you told me to do this. This is the situation that happened. It's not fair for you to get mad at me if this is a situation that happened that you told me to do. And it's one of those things that she was very clearly trying to shift blame. I did tell this to my upper manager eventually, shortly thereafter, and supposedly, keyword there is supposedly, she did talk to her. This manager, she got so many HR complaints that eventually from what I understand, there was an investigation that eventually happened. I'm not really going to go into the details of that investigation because I don't think it's appropriate for the matters of this video. But it's one of those things like, hey, if you have this many HR complaints, and sometimes with the severity of the complaints in some cases, don't you think it's appropriate that she just gets fired after a while? And it's one of those things like, even to this day, she's still there. It's also one of those things where like, we have customers complaining about her. We have reviews, both on our database and on like Google reviews that are specifically complaining about this manager. Don't you think that is an issue? Straight up. Not gonna lie, from like August to even now, it's basically been terrible. Like one of the main motivators for me to leave Banana Republic is because I did not want to work with this manager anymore. It's one of those things why many people, like even to this day, even outside of me, are still considering leaving because they do not want to deal with this manager. Like this manager has made at least my store, Banana Republic, such a toxic workplace environment that I'm sorry, if you have this many HR complaints, if you have people who are straight up quitting, who are straight up going over our main manager to talk to corporate about her, about how bad of a manager and how unprofessional and immature of a manager she is. I'm sorry, there is a situation here, and I don't understand why this is not being taken care of properly and accordingly as it should be. So that was very frustrating. October, November of 2025, last year, so just even a few months ago, my buddy finally became manager. After all the hassle for all 2025, he finally became manager. And it's one of those things where I'm not gonna lie, this one manager, this rude manager, like she is very much opposed to him being manager. She has tried to make his life kind of a living hell now that he's manager. But he's standing up for himself, which is I very much appreciate it. It's one of those things that we don't ask her questions. We ask him. We ask literally any other manager questions about what we need to do instead of her because we do not want to put up with her. It really goes that it's really that simple. All the negativity aside of it all, because I would say that really it's just because realistically the negativity aspect of working there, it's really something that really truly popped off in the past 5 months, 6 months since August. I guess the real thing about Banana Republic that I want to say, outside of the one manager that should be fired 100%, is this. All things considered, I will admit I did have a good time working at Banana Republic. all things considered, I did have a good time working at Banana Republic. It's one of those things where you can't really focus on the negativity. Now, yes, I just focused for the past maybe 10-15 minutes on negativity stuff, but just that's more so to get it out of my system one last time. Because after this, I'm never going to mention it again. That being said, I did like working with the customers. I did like helping customers find clothes and style them however with whatever their needs were. Hey, if you need a suit, here's a suit. If you need some casual clothes like a t-shirt and jeans, here's a t-shirt and jeans. How can you make this outfit pop out more? Maybe try on this leather jacket. Maybe try out this flannel. Maybe instead of the jeans, try the chinos. Maybe try these wide leg pants. Whatever. I'm very much a style guy. I love, in a sense, outside of movies, I love clothes. For somebody who lives in Miami, I have an exorbitant amount of jackets and coats. I have 52 coats. I actually just counted them recently because one of my friends asked me, how many coats do you have? I have 52 coats and jackets. For Miami, that is ludicrous. For Miami, you probably don't have more than like 10, maybe 15. Who in Miami has 52 coats? You know what I mean? I love fashion, I love, outside of movies, I love fashion. That is my big thing. I'm not into sports. I'm not into video games. For me, it is movie and fashion. So, working with customers, styling them, me being styled, because there are some times where I had to do a styling session for myself, and so we could do for promotions. I would do that, and that for me, that was fun. I very much enjoyed that. I'm gonna put it like this: retail was a good first job right out of college, but it's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I'll put it like that. It's one of those things where August of 2025. One of the times where I did consider quitting, and this was before the incident I had with the manager. I think this is right before the manager even came in. I want to say, like, right there when she was just starting to come in. My original plan with substitute teaching, which I've said this a few times already, but my original plan with substitute teaching was to work it for about a month and a half. So from August to September, give or take. Work that for about a month, see how it goes, and if it goes well for me, because I've dedicated the time to it, then I'll quit Banana Republic. That was my original plan, but that didn't happen because of what happened with substitute teaching, and I got fired unfairly and whatever. But I'm saying all this is because, like, now I'm at a place where, like, this was my first job. Substituting was my second real job. The Trivia Nation, I'm not going to consider that as an actual... It was a job, but it's not like a professional, well-paying job. That's not the other. That was more like a side hustle, right? But it's one of those things, like, I was very much ready to quit Banana Republic and go into teaching, essentially. Go into substitute teaching for a while. And that didn't happen. So that's why I say, like, for a lot of reasons, this was my first real job. And yes, I've done other jobs even before this, outside of substitute teaching and outside of Trivia Nation. Working as a trivia host, I was the event coordinator for a few festivals down here, film festivals, IndieWise, Widescreen, for example. I was the event coordinator for that, but I'll be honest with you, and maybe that could be a video for a whole different time, but it's one of those things I feel like I just had a title and didn't really do the job. I mean, I got paid for it, doesn't matter, but it's more like that. And there's a whole other host of complications with those jobs either way. But it's one of those things, like, Banana Republic, in a lot of ways, was my first true, real job. I think, that's something that's never going to be taken away. I think there's always going to be a part of me that's always going to be loyal to Banana Republic because I've worked for them for so long. And I still like their clothes. Like, I had a 50% discount at Banana Republic. I'm not gonna lie. Now when I left, I abused that discount. I straight up just abused that discount, to an almost disgusting degree. But hey, when you need new work clothes, you kind of need new work clothes, and it's all professional, so why not, But besides the point, I'm not gonna lie. My last day was this past Tuesday on the 10th, February 10th, 2026. That was my last day. And I'm not gonna lie, I got kind of teary-eyed doing some stuff that I'm like, when I was realizing it, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna do this again. And here's the thing, I didn't expect to leave Banana Republic earlier this week. I'll probably explain this more in the video that's to come, the part 3 of this little mini-series, but it's one of those things where I got the call last week Monday, whatever that day was. I got the call last week Monday, what is that, January 30th, 31st, or February 1st, whatever. I got the call last week Monday that I had the interview. I got accepted into the job that Monday following the interview. Everything was finalized by last week Wednesday. So, I don't know, February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever. And I had to call Banana Republic, my main manager, and saying, hey, Tuesday needs to be my last day because I got this job. Straight up. So it's one of those things, like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I did not expect to be leaving Banana Republic. All this to say, it's that, my last day there, I'm not gonna lie, I got very emotional doing some stuff that I just didn't think I wasn't gonna do anymore, so to speak. Like, I'm gonna park one last time in this parking spot, and I actually got teary-eyed. Me walking because I take the train, basically. I basically park, I take the train, the metro station, the metro rail, all the way to my stop, and then of course I get off my stop, and there's the mall right there. You know, it's one of those things like I realized, oh my gosh, this is the last time I'm gonna be taking the train to Banana Republic. This is the last time I'm gonna be walking into the store as an employee of Banana Republic. I'm not gonna lie, clocking in, I started getting teary-eyed. It's also one of those things that because it happened so suddenly, I didn't really get to say goodbye to some of the people that I wanted to say goodbye to. It's one of those things where, like, one of my managers, like, one of my favorite managers there, she's actually on PTO right now. She's, like, on paid time off right now because of vacation or whatever. I think it's, I mean, we're calling it a vacation. I think there's more to it, but whatever. So I didn't even get to say goodbye to her properly. It's one of those things, like, on my break. It's one of those things on my break. I basically did a mad, because here, Monday, I didn't work. By Monday, I came, and that's when I abused my discount. Tuesday, I'm like, let me get a few more items I should have gotten yesterday. So it's one of those things, like, on my 15-minute break, I basically did a mad dash across the store and picked up, like, 5 or 6 more items I wanted to get that I should have gotten the day before. And there you go. You know, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I basically robbed the store. I got so many items. Again, kind of to a disgusting degree. It's one of those things, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna cry, like, literally bawl my eyes out. But there is a part of me that, like, even thinking about it, like, oh, wow, like, some of those stuff that I did, my last customer, you know, like, this is the last time I'm ever gonna ring up a customer. This is the last time I'm gonna get apply card for a person, you know, like that type of stuff. Like, I don't know why, but just kind of hit differently that last day. Thank God, by the way, side note, thank God that manager that I don't like was not there on my last day to ruin it. Honestly, thank God. I saw her on Monday. I saw her the Monday when I went shopping. Yeah, like, it's one of those things, at least act normal. At least say hi. Like, I know we're not friends. I know we're not, you know, we're not like that, but at least I think the bare minimum you can do is, like, at least say hi. But, you know, she didn't even want to do that. So, you know, just shows how mature and professional you are. I did hear shortly thereafter that she's already, like, saying stuff about me. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Because there was an incident, like, 2 weeks ago where I had to tell her straight up, hey, like, you should maybe slow down on some of this stuff because I can't do everything. And she was trying to turn that into, like, oh, I yelled at her and cursed her out. I'm like, no, that's not what happened. And nobody believes her. That's the other thing. But this way, nobody believes her when she starts saying one of her tall tales. But it's like one of those things, like, yeah, it's not that I'm never going to see these people again. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to visit the store eventually, you know? But it's one of those things, like, wow, this is the last time I'm going to be doing some of this stuff. And I'm not going to lie, it kind of got to me. Like, it straight up did get to me. So it's one of those things, like, I'm not going to lie, when I was, like, leaving at the end, I'm not going to lie, I kind of just, I almost broke down right there. Like, I'm hugging my boy one last time. And there's a part of me that kind of just, like, almost broke down for a second because, like, this is the last time I'm going to be an employee here. Because here, I had a really good standing at Banana Republic when I left. You know, it's not like how people originally viewed me when I first got there in August of 2023. Where I was basically this immature little kid who didn't care about the job, who was kind of indignant, who was kind of disrespectful, honestly. You know, it's one of those things, like, in the past 2.5 years, I've changed. You know, I became more mature. I became more professional. Me holding on to Christ, that also helped a lot in softening my image, you know, and me just growing up in general. You know, when I first got there, I was 25. I was like 25. I'm about to be 27. You know, maybe I was 24 actually. Now I think about it, I was maybe 24, 2.5 years. You know, and I'm about to be 27 next month. So, you know, it's one of those things, like, I've changed, and it's one of those things also, like, I guess one of the things that also helps me in this regard and having a better image, so to speak, is that fact that from the time I got there in August of 2023 to now February 2026, there's only 5 people there from the original crew. Straight up, there's only 5 people left. 4 now that I'm gone. You know, it's like a lot of people have shifted and changed over the years. You know, and it's one of those things, I did have a really good standing with people. Like, in a lot of ways, I was still the class clown. And, like, it's one of those things, I could kind of tell when people were, like, kind of off or down or whatever, and I was just, like, clown it up and just say some dumb joke and people would be smiling. It's one of those things, I actually said this a few weeks ago to one of my coworkers, where it's like, yo, and keep it in mind that I did not think I was going to leave anytime soon. But it's one of those things, hey, when I leave, you guys are all going to be very sad because, like, there's going to be no joy here anymore. Because, like, I know how to make all of you laugh. You know, I said something like that. I don't want to say it's true, but, you know, and I can't even confirm if it's true, but hey, we'll see. Yeah, man, it was just great. It was great working there overall. Like, all things considered, really loved working there. And then this last part, I just want to give a few shout outs to some of my coworkers, some who are there, some of them who are not there. I mean, first and foremost, my boy Chris. I mean, he's, you know, like, I'm so happy he became manager at the end. I'm very much happy about that. Rudy, who's the other manager I never got to say goodbye to. The first manager who saw something in me all the way back then, Jarelli's, she was great. The manager who originally hired me, or the 2 managers who originally hired me, Kenny and Maurice, they were great. I hope they're doing better stuff now. And just all the incredible people I've worked with over the years. You know, Marcelina, Sibel, Sai, you know, they're basically the morning crew, basically in the shipment. They've always been fantastic to work with. Them three. And with Sibel and Mart basically almost being almost like my den mothers, so to speak, or like that mother figure inside the store for me, so to speak. Angel, we had two people called Angel. That's the thing. One of the angels is the one I was talking about earlier, the one who was an angel. That's the reason I said that. You know, she was great. Of course, probably the best manager we've had. No offense to Chris, but like probably the best manager that we've had across the whole board. The other angel, he was great. He quit in epic fashion, all thanks to that one rude manager. So great. Rudy, did I mention Rudy already? She was the one I didn't get to say goodbye to. So there's that. Two, I mean, who else did we have? We had Frankie for some time. I hope he's good. I hope he's doing good. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say to that. I hope he's doing good. You know, we have Frankie. Who else did we have here that I actually want to recognize? Pilar. She was fantastic. Martha. So we had two Jennies, by the way. So both of them are great. Catherine, she was great. Who else did we have? I said Frankie. Ryan, he is incredible. Probably the only person there that's more fashionable than me. So we'll go with that. Eugenio. Really sucks how he left, to be honest with you. Corporate, that's one of those things. Corporate stepped in the worst way possible for no reason. So let's just leave it at that. But Eugenio, I hope he's doing great. Andrea, I know she's doing better right now. I mean, just so many people that I've worked with over the years. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting people even to that. Did I say Nicole already? I mean, Nicole's great as well. I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to cycle over people that I worked with. We had Diego, which I hope he's doing good. I haven't seen him in a long time. He used to come to the store a few times, and then he just stopped coming. So Diego, he was great. We had Carlos. We had two Carloses, now I think about it. We had one Carlos, which I only saw a few times, and very early on, and then I never saw him again, so I can't really comment on him. But the other Carlos, he was good. I will say that much. He was good. I'll be honest, I just don't remember much about him, but he was funny. So there's that. We had Pablo, I believe was his name, or Pedro. Again, very early on, and then he left. He was kind of like that curmudgeony old man type of figure, you know, that he's there. He's kind of always has a bit of an attitude. Here's the thing, we're also all Hispanic, so we all have a bit of an attitude as well. But it's like, hey, he still does his good work, so it's really great. You know, it's just great. I'll be honest, you know, it was just great overall. Some of these people, and I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting. Like, I'm definitely forgetting people. I'm trying to think of who else. Carola was great. Thank God I got to say goodbye to her. She's one of the few people I was able to say goodbye to. Carola. Damaris, she was great. She's one of the new hires from the Christmas season. We had Luke, who apparently he still works there, but I just haven't seen him in a minute. And then now that I left, I'm not gonna see him, period. So he was great. Yeah, I mean, we just had a lot of great people there. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting people, even with all this. Karim was great. I know she quit a few months ago, so there's that. There's Karelia. She was kind of like, she didn't believe that I was leaving. That's the funny thing. I'm like, no, I'm being serious. I'm leaving. This is my last day. You know, she was almost like my grandmother. Like Marcia and Sibel were like almost like my mothers. Carelia was almost like my grandmother. It's almost like that. It's a lot of women. I'm not gonna lie. We barely had any men. Oh, Timothy was great. The way he was let go was also kind of weird because of corporate. By the way, yeah, Timothy was great. That's someone I you know, he left and we were like, what happened to Timothy? You know, what happened to Tim? There's Gavin. He was there for a short while, but you know, he was really great, and he was one of the first people I managed to talk about my testimony there. This was like last year, by the way. So he was only there for about a month or two, I want to say, but even with that, I think he did leave a bit of an impact because I was able to share my testimony with him. That was always great. Not that she worked with us per se, but you know, we have a cafeteria right over where, you know, if you want to get coffee or like a snack, a quick bite to eat, we go there very fast during our break. We had Nicole there, another Nicole where, you know, it kind of sucks that she moved out. I'm not gonna lie, I very much loved her. She was great. We had Nicole, we had Lewis there as well. Just some random shout outs there as well, and oh my gosh, there's two managers I really liked there, Giselle and Chelsea. Those two managers were great. I would say those are really the only people I interacted with in that little cafeteria. It's called Sabon. Nicole, Lewis, they're like regular employees. They're great, and you know, I very much love Nicole. She was great. And Chelsea and Giselle, they're always great. They're fantastic. We had Steven. He was there for a little bit, and then he quit. Well, it's one of those things. I think he got a better opportunity somewhere else, like shortly thereafter, so he left. But yeah, I mean, we had so many incredible people working there. I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting people. I'm pretty sure there's somebody I'm forgetting along the way. I think that's all the shout outs I want to give. And yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible time there. Patricia. I know if I'm like, Patricia, Patricia's weird because I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's one of those things like we barely worked with each other. Yeah, I always knew she was there for like a large time. Like she had her 10-year anniversary working for the company like a few months ago. And it's one of those things like we will barely see each other. But it's like, oh yeah, you exist. Every time we see each other, it's like, oh yeah, you do exist. That's right. It was very funny. Paula and Fanny, that's what I'm forgetting. Those were the last two managers that we had. Fanny was my main manager, and Paula was the second in command, so to speak. Again, I've mentioned 4 managers. I'm not going to mention the name of the 5th one. I don't think it's relevant, but that's about it. the one situation with that one manager aside, I would still say that I very much appreciated my time at Banana Republic. And again, it was my first job coming out of college. And in a lot of ways, I learned a lot and how to be organized, how to be professional, how to be mature. You know, that's not to say that in previous jobs like the film festival stuff, it's not to say that I wasn't professional or mature in those jobs. It's one of those things where I almost didn't have to be, so to speak, because, or I didn't, better said, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it because this was all geared towards filmmaking, and I already knew that I had to be professional in this field. Because this was such a different field from what I was accustomed to, because of that, I didn't really think about professionalism or maturity in this field of retail. And that's on top of the fact that I still wasn't in the faith when I first started. It's one of those things in my journey with the faith and in my journey just becoming an adult. This is one of those things that helped me really get there. And me, towards the latter half of my time there, job searching, you know, it's like, yeah, wow. It's one of those things you kind of realize how much this job truly has helped me. That's kind of why how I want to end it. Like, I did truly realize how this job helped me at the end. In a lot of ways, this job helped me get the next job I have right now. But yeah, I mean, overall, working here has been a blessing. At the end of the day, God was with me throughout all of it. He was guiding my hand throughout all of it, and was at the end of the day, it was a fantastic place to work at. I still very much love the store. I still very much love the brand. They have great clothes. I abused my discount to the very end. It's time for a new season. It's time for a new era. Banana Republic, that was my life for the past 2.5 years. We'll see what the next 2.5 years have in store for me, so to speak. But yeah, that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart, signing off.